I'm glad to be with all of you this afternoon by means of this video. And Jeff has asked me to simply give you all a summary of how the Mount Up Motorcycle Ministry began. And I guess actually it began way back in about 1981 or so when I got my first motorcycle while I was in Bible college. Had a Kawasaki 400 LTD and didn't even have a car, just had a motorcycle and ran that thing all year long, even in the dead of winter, back and forth to college. And that's where I met my wife. Our first date was on the motorcycle, and I've been riding ever since. But when I moved down to Virginia, down into the coal fields of southwestern part of Virginia, I sold the bike because it just wasn't a safe place to ride down there with all the coal trucks flying past you at 60, 65 miles an hour. So I lived down there for 14 years without a motorcycle. And as soon as I moved here to Ohio, it wasn't too long before I saw a used Suzuki Savage sitting on the side of the road here in Georgetown. And the price was right. And when I mentioned it to my wife, she said, "Well, you're going to buy it, aren't you?" So we bought that bike and rode for about a year. And when I went down to the BMV in Batavia to get my motorcycle license, it was a hot day and had about 20 or 30 people there to take the little riding test. And I took my test on that Suzuki Savage, and it's only a one-cylinder bike. It was a 700cc one-cylinder motorcycle. And I got done riding and came around and parked, and that thing backfired like it always would. And some guy with a big old Harley, he came over and laughed at me. He said, "Buddy, you're only running on one cylinder." And I said, "Well, that's all I got." And he looked down at that bike, and he'd never seen just a one-cylinder bike. So I had that bike for a while, and then ended up our church here. We came up with the idea that we needed some more room, needed a bigger building. So we had a big financial campaign, and I sold that motorcycle and gave the money to the church to build the addition onto our church building. But it wasn't too long after that a few fellows here in the church came up to me, and they had bikes and they rode, and they said, "Well, our preacher sold his bike for this building campaign and he needs to have a bike." And they just gave me about a 1982 Honda CB450. Gave me the keys and gave me the title, and it was just a gift they gave to me. And I rode that here around town for another year or so until one of the guys here on staff, one of our ministers here, Jason, he had gone up to Grove City to the Nazarene Church, big Nazarene church in Grove City, Ohio, and one of the things he found out that they did up there was motorcycle ministry in a big way. And they have a ministry called Leave a Mark Ministry. You can find that online. And he came back all excited about that. When I got on their website and learned more of how they did it, well, that kind of lit a fire inside of me. So I went out and ended up buying a new Suzuki C50T that if the weather was good today, I'd probably have it here to put in the video, but it's still raining outside. And bought that bike and ended up saying we need to start a motorcycle ministry, and that's what we did. That's when the Mount Up Ministry began, and had a very humble beginning, just about 7 people or so that had bikes here at the church, and we'd go out riding together and go out to eat and just have a good time. And the church responded well. The leaders here and the people thought it was great that a bike ministry had begun. And then we planned our first bigger event, our first event, our BBB, our Burgers, Blessings, and Bikes. And Jeff Hafner, who's now our president of Mount Up, he saw one of our posters, and he called the church, and he was going through a tough time in his life. And we talked, and he came, and before long, he had been baptized into Christ and was just really an integral part of Mount Up. And with everything else that I was doing here at the church, I told Jeff one day, I said, "You need to run with this ministry, and you take charge of it, and you do whatever you want with it." And that's exactly what Jeff has done. And in the past 3 years or so, we've developed the BBB into something much bigger. We've added a rug rat run, we've added a toy run, We've had a Jesus Jam, which is a community concert where we raise funds to support the different events that we do. And Jeff and Debbie have done a great job in expanding this ministry and drawing more people to the Lord and to the church. And that's really what we want the BBB to be about, and that's what we want our Mount Up ministry to be all about. Just getting people connected with God, keeping them connected with each other, and just showing that God and a good time go together. So Jeff can tell you more about our Mount Up ministry here at Georgetown, and I hate that I'm not able to be with you all today live, but hopefully this will show that from very humble beginnings, even a preacher riding an old 1982 Honda can start something, and good people come along and really grab hold of it and serve the Lord in some great ways. So have a good day, and hopefully we can ride together soon.